Hello and welcome to my channel, Diluc Gaming. After tormenting us for years with a multitude of absurd inventions and confusing domains, our favorite talking giant bird has become a playable character. So with her head finally out of the clouds, we can ask ourselves, how good is a Constellation Zero Xianyun with various 4-star weapons? You're tuning in to Diluc Gaming, and here is the ultimate Constellation Zero Xianyun showcase. As the great philosopher once asked, to Xiao or not to Xiao? That is the question. We will explore this question in great detail, as the Cloud Retainer enables everyone to LARP as Xiao. Speaking of LARPing, Xianyun has finally decided that she's had enough LARPing as a bird. She's decided to now LARP as Bayonetta. I must say, I definitely prefer this design over her bird form. While gun-toting, hair-slinging ain't her thing, Xianyun definitely has an extremely unique playstyle. Known for her wacky inventions that come from the purest and most wholesome of intentions, Xianyun's goofy contraptions will now elevate our favorite cast of misfits in combat. Anyway, no need to further cloud the details. Let's see if one's kit is full of tough stuff, or if one is just a bird full of fluff. Starting off, my Cloud Retainer is using the Oathsworn Eye at Refinement 5. And for her artifacts, I use a couple different sets with the Viridescent Veneer and a 2-piece attack percent combination. Both builds focus on attack and energy recharge. She's of course at Constellation 0 throughout this entire video, and her talents are at 10, 10, and 9. We'll be floating through the Cloud Retainer's entire kit, soaring past her buffing capabilities, drifting through multiple team examples, raining down terror with a main DPS build, and lastly, I'll be floating my opinion on whether or not you should drain your Primo Gems for Xianyun, or if you should retain your Primo Gems instead. Hopping over to her kit, we have her basic attacks, Word of Wind and Flower. There's not much to say right now besides that they're just basic catalyst attacks, and with a support build like this one, they're not going to be doing that much damage. And up next is her elemental skill, White Clouds at Dawn. She has multiple versions of it. With a hop, skip, and jump, Xianyun can increase the amount of damage the final plunge does with each subsequent hop, skip, and jump. By the jump portion, aka the third sky ladder bounce, she'll be able to output a very thick 607.7% damage multiplier at talent level 10. This plunge portion also counts as plunge damage, and from my observations, her skill appears to generate 5 particles regardless of which version you use, as long as you finish it off with the plunge attack. For simply getting as many particles as quickly as possible, you'll just want to use the hop version. However, the hop skip version appears to have slightly more pulling power, and the hop skip and a jump version appears to have a similar amount of pulling power to the hop skip version, but it does a lot more damage. So generally speaking, for a pure support Xianyun, you want to mainly use the hop version to lower her field time and to get those particles out as quickly as possible. Since her pulling power is pretty weak, you probably won't be finding yourself using the hop skip or hop skip and a jump version very often with a pure support build. For exploration, not using the plunge attack will actually reduce its cooldown by 3 seconds. And this is a great way to travel horizontally and even horizontally through the air. However, I was very disappointed to find out that you cannot initiate the first hop while in midair. Why? Anyway, while it's doing debatably non-negligible damage, with this pure support build, her elemental skill isn't going to hit very hard, especially without her elemental burst. Which is the perfect segue to talk about her elemental burst, Stars Gather at Dusk. Xianyun's ultimate heals the entire party on cast, and then continues to heal the entire party 6 times, scaling off her attack stat. In total, even with this non-healing focused build, she's healing the entire party for 27,223 hit points. That's actually a massive amount of healing considering the build and the other utility that she provides the team. And more importantly than some healing, is that Xianyun conjures up one of her many infamous contraptions, this one being the Star Wicker. The Star Wicker allows any character to do a jump high enough in order to deal a high plunge damage, a total of 8 times. No more need to get all sweaty over Dragon Strike, because now everyone can Dragon Strike. Star Wicker also deals a small instance of anemo damage when your character plunges as well. But wait, that's not all! Her passive 2 provides flat damage to the plunge attack by 2 times Xianyun's attack, up to a maximum of 9,000 flat damage. This is a massive bonus, and as we can see here, Diluc's plunge attack is hitting for way more damage. Now it is important to note that her passive 2's bonus only applies to one target at a time, but it is still an incredible all-in-one tool, enabling access to high plunge damage for every character in the game. Oh yeah, and her passive 1 increases the plunge attack crit rate by a small amount based on how many enemies that the Cloud Retainer herself hit with her elemental skill's plunge attack. Xianyun's exploration passive provides your party with 15% faster gliding speeds, very fitting for her status as a giant bird. Anyway, now that we understand all the individual pieces of her kit, let's see how much damage Xianyun can do with her full kit with this current support build. Well, now it's actually a non-negligible performance even with his support build, because we are still boosting her Catalyst plunge attacks like this. We'll revisit a main DPS Xianyun build later, but for now, let's see how great she is at supporting her teammates. Let's start with her most obvious benefactor, the Conqueror of Demons himself, Xiao. We can see in this clip that Xiao's first plunge attack went from 33,349 damage to 57,985 damage. This is an incredible 74% increase to Xiao's plunge damage. In a full party situation, this support Xianyun actually provides Xiao with a larger boost to his plunge attack damage than a Constellation 5 Sapwood Blade Bennett does, while also freeing Xiao from the shackles of Circle Impact. It's worth noting that Xianyun doesn't buff the plunge through damage or Xiao's elemental skills, but still I think she's a great upgrade from Bennett in most situations for Xiao. Let's also take a look at a character that doesn't normally use plunge attacks, Hu Tao. Based on my initial testing, I'm able to squeeze out 6 N1CJLP combos, which is a normal attack, charge attack, jump, low plunge combo. This is actually an increase to the amount of damage multiplier she can output during her E infusion window. And on top of this, Hu Tao can now seamlessly be ran with Furina. And although you're keeping her HP over 50%, I think it's well worth it to be able to run a team like this. Interestingly enough, this changes the combo game of a super well established character like Hu Tao, while also providing her a noticeable upgrade in some situations. And well, it also ironically makes Hu Tao's Constellation 1 a bit obsolete, since jump canceling low plunging will output more multiplier here than her traditional dash jump cancel charge attacks with her Constellation 1. And next, what do you get when you cross over a Batman LARPer and a Bayonetta LARPer? I don't really have a good punchline for this, but it's Dragon Strike Diluc. Obviously. This setup is much more pragmatic than any previous Dragon Strike setup, and playing this is extremely satisfying to hear the beautiful swing sound that claymores make when they perform a plunge attack. Nice. Being able to use amplifying reactions like Vaporize and Melt will deal massive damage to your enemies, especially with the flat attack bonus provided by Xianyun. This will of course work with most other melee characters when you pair them with Constellation 6 Bennett and the Big Bird herself. But wait, if you think Xianyun at Constellation 0 is only good at buffing other goofy goobers, oh no, my friends. Behold, main DPS Xianyun. Yep, she just casually single-cycled Registfying without a team, but of course she is using the Widsith. Let's buff her up for real though, with an actual team. Full transparency, my Furina is being utilized like a Constellation 3 Furina, which increases the bonus damage buff that she provides from 75% to 124%. Oilverse, why can we still not toggle constellations? Major pain point of not being able to toggle constellations aside, Xianyun will still be able to output some serious damage with the proper Widsith buffs even with a Constellation 0 Furina. This is a hilarious build that surprised me with its performance and I guess viability. And while we're at it, we may as well do a nuke showcase. Since I've already used my quote-unquote Constellation 3 Furina, I'll also use her for this nuke showcase. 608,601 damage, and this is all at Constellation 0, granted with my whale supports. Do give this setup a try as it's a lot of fun to do. And oh boy, if you think her performance at Constellation 0 is silly, just wait for an upcoming video showcasing her at Constellation 6. Now to be completely blunt, I do think that Xianyun is better utilized as a support character. But for those of you hipsters out there that want to goof and goob with goofy builds, then you can give this one a try. Anyway, very little is more amusing than watching a healer/support bird dish out some serious pain. But as usual for these Constellation 0 showcase videos, I wanted to take the 5-star character in question with a 4-star only team through Abyss 12. And for this Abyss 12, I ended up floating this double Pyro, double Anemo team. This Xianyun is built as an on-field main DPS character, although admittingly it might have been better to just give Xiangling that role. Either way, this ended up working out just fine. Mama Bird was able to comfortably carry her 3 little 4 stars for a reasonable 9-star clear. And 12-1-1 may seem a little slow, but I spent a lot of time just battering this team up at the end because I had plenty of time left. As we can see, finally being able to harness the power of plunge attacks is doing wonders, even for Xianyun herself. Plunge attacks have high multipliers with great frame data, and they also have large AoE, which for this Abyss 12 didn't actually really come into play except for against the double robots in 12-2-1. Admittingly, even this Favonius Xiangling did a lot of the heavy lifting against the Hydrotolpa, but Xianyun certainly carried her own weight through all 3 of the Abyss 12 chambers. There were some energy issues though as usual as per most Xiangling teams, but again it worked out just fine in the end. So to answer the question, to Xiao or not to Xiao? Yes, the Cloud Retainer does indeed live up to her name, and everyone can now touch the clouds thanks to her. Xianyun has brought another wacky and fun way to experience combat in Genshin Impact. And like other flat damage providers, she raises the floor for so many different characters. Xianyun plus Constellation 6 Bennett reminds me of when Shenhe was released, how most melee characters became much more viable when put on the same team with Shenhe and Chongyun. And Bennett, well, needless to say, he is an infinitely better buffer than Chongyun is. Now, is she a huge upgrade from traditional team compositions that might want to replace her with Kazuha? It's hard to say right now, but another huge selling point for her is that she compresses the roles of healer and animo buffer. This makes Xianyun much more compatible with Furina than Kazuha is. And this also means that Xianyun plus Furina will be an incredible core for any character that can abuse plunge attacks. Heck, on that note, we may as well add Constellation 6 Bennett too, so Xianyun plus Furina plus C6 Bennett will literally make any character hit like a truck. It's kind of like the old meme where it's like, is this character really doing damage, or is Bennett plus Kazuha plus another support actually doing the damage? Anyway, Xianyun isn't without some significant drawbacks. Her grouping capabilities are very poor in comparison to both Venti and Kazuha, and she's also easily interrupted during her elemental skill. Also, her buffs feel gimmicky at times, and not everyone enjoys Xiaoing all over the place. And I'm still irked by how she can't use her elemental skill in midair. She's a freaking bird, and birds fly in midair. Anyway, another pain point is swirling for reverse vape teams. Unlike Kazuha, who can infuse Pyro on his burst, Xianyun has no such luxury, and it's difficult for her to swirl Pyro and Hydro at the same time. Then there's also the issue of Hydro application. Even in the Diluc team from earlier, with Xingqiu as the off-field Hydro applicator, I had issues with maintaining the Hydro aura on the enemy. Since we're adding 2 new sources of pyro application via his plunge attack Slam, which has no ICD, and his plunge through attack, which should have standard ICD, all these factors end up making these vape playstyles feel inconsistent. Now Xianyun certainly isn't even close to a must pull, but it sure is a lot of fun to Xiao all over your enemies, because prior to this, Xiao was the only one that could reliably Xiao. Of course, this video only barely scratches the surface of what Xianyun can provide, because frankly the amount of teams she can empower is essentially innumerable. For example, I wasn't quick enough to explore quicken teams with her. There's absolutely no reason why characters like Kaching, Yaimiko, C6 Dory, or even Alhaitham can't get a ton of mileage from the plunge attacks that she provides. And I'm gonna try something new this video. Suggest a team down in the comments below for me to try with her, and your suggestion plus comment might just end up in a follow-up video. Let us know if you're pulling for her and if I missed anything. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Went to Lose, signing out.
まだだ。